station of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Southwest.
Colby Lewis looks to keep his record perfect as the Rangers take on the Seattle Mariners next on Fox Sports Southwest. Texas Rangers baseball is presented by AT&T High-Speed Internet. Well, the clouds have parted. The roof is open here at Safeco Field. Tonight, the Rangers look to enjoy the evening and get back on the winning side of things against the Seattle Mariners. And welcome in, everyone, along with Tom Graves, Steve Busby. Happy you could join us for this Saturday night of Ranger baseball. Rangers trying to get back on the winning side of things after losing last night. Tonight, they have their veteran right-hander, Colby Lewis, going for him on the road, where he's been good.
He's definitely been good on the road, Buzz. And I think you could make a case that as a Ranger, Colby's never been better than he is right now. In his last 9 starts, his ERA is under 3. He's walking 2 batters per 9 innings. On the road, he's been terrific. 141 is his ERA. He always has a good strikeout-to-walk ratio. He feels good. Last season's injuries are behind him. He's never been healthier as a Ranger. So everything's headed in the right direction, pointed in the right direction for a solid game from Colby tonight, Buzz.
And Colby pitching tonight in a ballpark where he's enjoyed some pretty good success in the past. Some of his better strikeout games have come here at Safeco Field. Interesting matchup tonight as James Paxton goes for the Mariners. Rangers trying to increase their lead in the Western Division once again. It stands at 3 as we start play tonight. We're back with more from Safeco Field right after this. Is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealer. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer today for incredible deals and see why Ford is the best in Texas. By AT&T High-Speed Internet. Get a deal worth talking about. Get high-speed internet from AT&T. By Budweiser, not backing down since 1876. This Bud's for you. And by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. A gorgeous evening here with the roof open at Safeco Field. A very comfortable night. Temperatures in the low to mid 60s and very little breeze. It'll be a nice night for baseball, and Rangers hoping to pick up a W before we get things underway. Let's head down and check in with John Radigan.
Yeah, Buzz, talk about Mitch Moreland, who, since being unplugged for a couple of days, has been hitting the ball all over the yard. Several doubles. He had a couple of home runs last night. He says he's not doing anything different before or after the break in his schedule. He says the game has taught him that he can't.
I think a lot of it's, confidence and mindset. But you're right. I mean, you can't really control it. You just got to continue to go up there and believe in your work, believe in what your plan is, what your focus is, and let it work itself out mainly.
And it definitely seems to be working itself out for Mitch Moreland. Let's see if he can stay hot and the rest of the Rangers can get hot tonight against these Seattle Mariners. It's a beautiful night for baseball here at Safeco Field in Seattle with the roof open. It's almost time for baseball. We get you the starting lineups and the first pitch next on Fox.
Here tonight. So a matchup of teams vying for the Western Division leadership role, and Tom's going to tell you about the Southwest Airlines Rangers lineup.
Well, you're looking at Jurickson Profar. He'll play third and lead off. Ian Desmond has hit .368 batting second, and that's where he is tonight. Nomar Mazar on a 9-game hitting streak is batting third. Rougned Odor is at second base. Ryan Rua, .366 average in his last 14 games, hitting fifth. Prince Fielder is hitting sixth at DH. Elvis is the shortstop. Mitch Moreland, coming off of a 2-home run game last night. Hoping Mitch gets hot. He's down in the 8th spot. Bobby Wilson gets the start behind the plate. He's 3 for 7 with a home run in his last couple of ball games.
And that lineup tonight will be facing the 27-year-old southpaw James Paxton. And Paxton, well, the Rangers have to use the real estate approach to him. Watch for location, 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 and see if he's able to throw a lot of strikes. His fastball, especially since coming back from AAA this year, has been explosive at times. He has topped the 100-mile-an-hour mark a couple of times, and Rangers will have to make sure that when he throws that he can get that in the strike zone. He has had a little trouble commanding the strike zone with that fastball, but he's made a change in his delivery, dropped his arm slot down a little bit, and James Paxton would say it's really increased the velocity and the consistency of his fastball. Rangers will get their first look at him here tonight with that modified delivery. You remember Paxton from the past, almost straight over the top. Big, tall, angular left-hander, and he worked from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock down through the strike zone. Mariners defense tonight, Aoki gets a start in left, Martin in center, and Seth Smith in right. Lind at first base this evening, Cano and Marte up the middle, Kyle Seager at third, and Steve Clevenger gets a start behind the plate. So ready to get things underway here. The Mariners winning last night's ball game 7-5 in a slugfest. We'll see if the Rangers can't return the favor here this evening as Jurickson Profar takes ball one. Profar, the hottest thing going. Rangers and the American League, a 12-game hitting streak. He has been nothing short of sensational since coming on to take the place of the suspended Rougned Odor. And then after Rougned was back on the active list, Profar staying around, getting plenty of playing time in that leadoff spot. 2-1 the count. I think I shorted Jurickson one game. It's a 13-game hitting streak. Longest in his career. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And that's that cut fastball that Paxton will throw at the low 90s. So he has really changed quite a bit since the last time the Rangers faced him. The 2-2 pitch. And that fastball up there at 100 miles an hour.
Starting to look like Randy Johnson out there.
Yeah, you're right.
That kind of a sidearm, not sidearm, but 3/4 arm angle, that hard breaking ball. Velocity in the upper 90s. Doesn't even look like the same guy.
A little bit inside, a full count now. Well, Paxton at 6'4" and about 220. You're right, dropping that arm angle down, he looks a lot lankier than that. Payoff pitch coming. Ground ball cut off by Seager. That was a 360 and throws a strike, 1 away.
Well, you look at James Paxton's numbers in his first 2 ball games, it would suggest that he was doing something a little different. He struck out 17 batters in 9 2/3. He only walked a couple, 2 walks, 17 strikeouts. Given up some runs. He's given up 7 unearned runs in 2 starts. But if I were the Mariners, I'd be pretty excited about what I'm seeing right now, the way he's throwing.
No kidding. It's like getting a totally new pitcher.
Yeah.
Well, here's Ian Desmond. First ball swinging, drives this one to right center field. Martin on the run. And Leonis Martin tracks it down on the warning track. A long out number 2.
You jump out of the on-deck circle, walk up to the plate, and stroke a 98-mile-an-hour fastball. Almost drove it right out of the ballpark to right center field.
Now, watching Desmond in his time with the Rangers this year, the almost 2.5 months, I don't think he's seen a fastball he doesn't like. He goes up there and he'll go foul pole to foul pole with that fastball if you give him the opportunity. Well, here's Nomar Mazara now. Takes strike 1. Mazara brings a 9-game hitting streak into play tonight. That's the longest of his young career. He's hitting .429 for the month of June. 0-2. For a guy who won the American League Rookie of the Month in both April and May, Mazara making a pretty good case. It's going to be a clean sweep for the first 3 months. High and tight. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Nomar, 324 average. That's good for 7th in the American League. Nice swing. Clevenger will record the out at first, and James Paxton has a 1-2-3 inning. Rangers gone in order. We finished half an inning here in the Great Northwest. No score. Tom's going to tell you now about the Seattle Mariners lineup that will face Colby Lewis.
Left fielder Norichika Aoki leads off. Right fielder Seth Smith bats second. Robinson Cano, third with 18 home runs. Second with 50 RBIs in the American League is batting third. Nelly Cruz is the DH. Kyle Seager is the third baseman batting fifth. Adam Lind is at first base. Leonis Martin with 9 home runs. That's more than he's ever had in a year. He's batting seventh. Steve Clevenger gets the start behind the plate. Ketel Marte, the shortstop, bats ninth.
And Colby Lewis set to go to work to Nori Aoki. The first pitch is in for strike 1. Colby Lewis making his 13th start. That's a high water mark on the ball club. 5-0 with a 320 earned run average for Colby. Gets ahead very quickly. No balls and 2 strikes.
I'd say this is about as good a contrast between 2 starting pitchers as you could ever get. A lefty and a righty. One throwing 98, and Colby depending on mixing them up in his location.
That ball down and in. And it got Aoki. I don't know how in the world that missed him if it did. The 0-2 breaking ball right down at his shoe tops and got him on the foot. Now Jeff Bannister is going to come out to talk with the home plate umpire Ryan Blackney and see if he was sure that it hit him.
Yeah, it looked like the home plate umpire didn't do anything until Aoki started moving toward first base. I don't think it did hit him.
Well, I'm not so sure it did either, Tom. Now that I look at that, I don't know how he got out of the way of it, but that wasn't obvious. That wasn't an obvious hit by pitch.
It's one of those balls that when it spun and hit the ground, it kicked to the right and looked like it avoided him. Aoki's wondering if he's going to get the call, but it didn't look like a batter that felt like he was hit by a pitch. And it didn't look like Ryan Black. And he really made the move that he was hit by a pitch until he saw him walking. Didn't hit his front foot, and it didn't hit his back knee.
And Jerry Davis, the crew chief, now coming down to ask Jeff Bannister if he wants to issue a challenge on the call. That's a challengeable play, but Jeff Bannister apparently has said, nope, don't want to do that. Aoki pleading the case with Ryan Blackney, and he got the call. So a hit by pitch puts Aoki on base to start things now, and it brings up Seth Smith. Smith, a 257 hitter. Aoki, of course, with very good speed at first base. Seth Smith, half a dozen home runs, 25 driven in, and has not enjoyed hitting against Colby Lewis. Just an .077 average, 1 for 13. One ball and no strikes. Mariners come in second in the American League with scoring 310 runs. They are behind the world-leading Boston Red Sox in that category. Ian Desmond retreating toward left center field. That is out number 1. Back to first is Aoki. And we'll show you the rest of the Ranger defense tonight, delivered to you by Break Check. You saw Desmond in center. He is flanked by Rua in left, Mazzara in right. Moreland and Odor on the right side of the infield, Andrews and Profar on the left, with Bobby Wilson behind the plate, working with Colby Lewis. Now 1 on, 1 out. Here comes Robinson Cano. Cano, the important hitter in the middle of that order. He is the one that really sets the table and drives home runs for the Mariners. 50 RBI, second in the American League. It's ball 1, just a little bit low. And Cano has had good success against Colby Lewis. He's hit a home run in 24 at bats. He's 8 for 24. That's a .333 mark. Taking all the way, and it's 2 balls and no strikes. Rangers are catching Cano at a time when he's not really swinging the bat well. He's 0 for his last 14 times to the plate. See if Colby Lewis can take advantage of that here. Colby fires a strike, and it's 2-1. Rangers bottled up Cano last night, took an 0 for 3. Did have a walk in that ball game. Cano 4th in the major leagues with 18 home runs, and 3rd with those 50 RBI. This slice deep down the left field line, but it's going to go back and out of play. That will even the count at 2-2. Mariners, along with scoring the second most runs, the second best on base percentage, .331. Scott Service Club been kind of up and down lately. You remember the Rangers last weekend swept 3 games in Arlington against the Seattle club. Could be 2. Andrews, Odor, the jump throw, and they got it.
Nice play.
74th ground ball double play turned by the Rangers this year. And the Mariners are gone in the first. Nothing going. We have finished one at Safeco Field. Rangers doubling up on Seattle. No score. To take advantage of $10 Tuesdays, tickets for the Reds-Rangers game that night are just $10. You can add on a $10 meal deal when purchasing online. Plus, all fans on Tuesdays will receive $10 parking. Visit TexasRangers.com/specials to secure your $10 Tuesday tickets for June 21st. Odor to start things off here for the Rangers in the top of the second inning. Middle third of the Texas order against James Paxton.
One stat that Paxton has accrued over his short big league career is a reverse split. Right-hand hitters have hit .218 against him. Lefties have hit .315. Most of that was compiled with his old delivery. It'd be interesting to see. I would have to think, Buzz, that lefties aren't going to hit .315 against him the way he's throwing right now. Dropping down a little bit with that 92-mile-an-hour cut fastball that he's throwing. That might be a little bit of a difference maker for him, especially if the at-bat to Mazzaro was any indication.
Well, you hang breaking balls like that, you might have a problem.
If you hang that curveball, you might see it sail out of the ballpark.
Not sure it matters whether the hitter's left-hander or right-hander. You get throwing that thing up there.
Well, the Rangers have 4 left-hand hitters in the lineup today.
Wow, boy, there's a rope right back up the middle.
That was a 99-mile-an-hour fastball, and I got to think it went past Paxton at more than 99.
Yeah, I think the transfer of energy was pretty clean.
Wow.
Odor with the first Ranger hit of the night.
Paxton's ducking. I don't blame him.
Yeah, as a pitcher, you get through, and Paxton's no more than 56, 55 feet from home plate. You hear the sound, the ball's already by you by then.
Yeah.
No, 1 on, nobody out. Here's Ryan Rua. Rua hit that towering home run last night. Takes high for ball 1. For Ryan, his 4th round tripper of the year. He has been on a pretty good pace, getting a lot more playing time the last 20 games or so. He has really stepped up and done a great job for the Rangers. Last 14 games, he's hit .366. 2 balls, no strikes. And Clevenger are going to go out and have a little chat with Paxton. Go ahead.
Guys.
I was just going to say the combination of James Paxton and Taijuan Walker, both coming up through the system about the same time. Paxton a couple of years older, but that was really the future for the Mariner system. They thought those two, and Walker was the more advanced of the two, despite Paxton having better stuff. But if Paxton is able to harness what he has come up with now, throws a double play ball. Cano turns it at second, and that removes Odor from the leadoff single. 6-4-3.
Paxton at AAA this year was 4-3, had an ERA right around 4. So he was pitching well in AAA. Wasn't dominating at AAA. Throwing the way he's throwing, you would probably expect that he would have been.
Fritz Fielder taken outside for ball 1. Fielder hitting now at 194. But he has reached base safely in 22 of his last 26 ball games. High and out of play down the left side. 1 ball and 1 strike. Reds had a 1-for-4 game last night. Hit a very sharp line drive for a single to left center field. One and two. That's that cut fastball. That's a big cut fastball too, and it's a hard 92 miles an hour. And Fielder finds room in the outfield over the shift. Well, Prince has the second Ranger hit of this inning.
That was that hanging curveball at 85 miles an hour that Odor yanked foul, and Prince might have been a tick behind the fastball, but he's right on the curveball.
Ripped it into right field for a base hit.
Well, the answer to your reverse split question might be answered for you, I guess.
Yeah, there are a couple hits by lefties.
Yeah. And on pitches that were not located as well as he would prefer. Elvis taking the low inside for ball 1. Elvis trying to get things turned around, going in the right direction. He's 2 out of 7 in his career against James Paxton, but 0 for his last 10 times up there. And Elvis for a little bit of longer streak. 1 for 20 in last week. Current average of 274, his lowest since way back on April the 10th. 2-1. Paxton a check of first. This is low and outside. 3 balls and a strike. Well, Elvis trying to get aboard to join Prince Fielder. He would have 2 on for Mitch Moreland if Elvis is able to accomplish it. There's Mitch. 2 home run night last night. 3-1 as Paxton sets. Tapper back to the big left-hander. That will do it. Rangers get a couple of hits, but strand a runner. After 1.5, Rangers nothing, Mariners nothing on Fox Sports Southwest. Rangers baseball on Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer today for incredible deals and see why Ford is the best in Texas. Colby Lewis going to work here in the bottom of the second. Nelly Cruz takes strike 1. It'll be Cruz, Seager, and Lind. First 3 to do the swinging against Colby. Cruz off the end of the bat. Elvis near the bag at second. That is out number 1. Colby keeping it off a good part of Nelly Cruz's bat. It's that slowly hit chopper up the middle. Now Kyle Seager. Seager had a home run last night. He went back-to-back with Dae-Ho Lee as Lee hit the 3-run home run in that 4th inning. And Seager knocked his 11th of the year into the right field seats. Nothing and 1. Seager in his career a .321 mark against the Rangers. And this isn't just a short sample now. That's 360 at bats. Rolls over on it. Colby
pulling the string a little bit. Out number 2.
Yeah, Kobe's got a nice string going on the road. We mentioned before the game started he was undefeated on the road at 3-0 with a 1.41 ERA in 5 starts. He's also working on 15 2/3 scoreless innings on the road. Perfect night to pitch. Perfect weather, no wind.
Steve Buechele, Ranger bench coach, setting up some defensive alignments. Adam Lind, the first baseman tonight, takes strike 1. Lind, the left-handed component of that 2-man tag team that the Mariners put out there. He and Daeho Lee. They have been tough.
Yeah, Lind has been swinging the bat really well, but at the same time, the way Daeho Lee looked last night, I'm kind of glad he's not in the lineup tonight.
No kidding. 2-homer night last night. Between them, 17 home runs for the year.
Lind got off to a terrible start, but in his last 22 games, he's hitting well. He's hit 6 home runs and knocked in 19 runs in his last 22 ball games.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, he's gotten hot.
2-1 from Colby. Now 3 balls and a strike. Lind hitting 6th. Leonis Martin will follow. The former Ranger. Inside corner for a strike.
That was a strike, and the other one before it could have been a strike. I don't know what Lind's looking at. They're lucky they both weren't called strikes.
Blackie sitting right on that corner, had a good view of it. Sliced out of play down the left side. Come back and try it again. Adam Lind, over the years, has had good numbers against the Rangers also. This year, you saw he's really struggling, just 2 for 20, but he's a .275 hitter in his career. Got him swinging. Colby with the strikeout, and it is a 1-2-3 inning. So 6 up, 6 down. We will go to the 3rd, scoreless in Seattle.
Third, Jurickson Profar scheduled to hit 3rd in this 3rd inning, and the youngster has done such a great job. He's looked like a veteran, he's acted like a veteran, he's played like a veteran, but not without the help of a lot of veterans.
Sometimes I go, and sometimes they come and tell me, and that's very good of them. You know, I like to learn. You know, I always wanna be a better player. So you have to learn from them too.
And in fact, as he came off the field just now, I was sitting here watching him, and Adrian Beltre immediately called him over and started chatting with him, teaching him. I'm not sure exactly what he was teaching him, what he was telling him, but Jurickson Profar was listening very closely, guys.
Yeah, thanks, John. That's you can see Adrian Beltre at work doing that virtually every half inning. He'll be talking to somebody about the finer points of the game of baseball. Adrian very well aware of the influence that he has on the Ranger ball club, and he utilizes that to the benefit of the Rangers every opportunity he gets. Mitch Moreland with that swing evens the count out now. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Moreland leading off the Ranger third inning. Mitch, after a 2-home run night last night, now a .220 average with 8 home runs for the year. Call strike 3. Paxton with that cut fastball, and Moreland couldn't hang in against it. 1 gone.
He's given up a couple of hits to lefties, a fastball and a hanging curveball. But that cut fastball looks like it's going to be a tough pitch to hit. Really almost like a slider.
Yeah, it is.
More like a slider, really. But with that kind of a break to it, to go 90+ miles an hour, pretty impressive.
No, 1 away. Here's Bobby Wilson. Bobby, as a Ranger now, a .306 average. 3 home runs, 14 driven in. 1-1.
Want to mention that Jeff and Donna Canfield are here. They're from Prosper, Texas. Big Ranger fans. Number of Ranger fans are here today. In fact, every time we come to Seattle, there's a lot of Ranger fans. This is a popular place to come.
Sure is.
You want to get out of the heat in Texas, this is a perfect place to come. If you come at the right time, you might meet John Radigan at the Chowder House.
Yeah, Wilson lofts a fly ball to right center field. Seth Smith camped underneath it. That is out number 2. And the right time would be lunchtime any day, just about, huh?
Yeah.
Well, before we go back to the top of the Ranger order, let's send it back to Aaron Hardigan for a Chevy game break. All right, Aaron, thank you. Jurickson Profar, who was out on a nice play by Kyle Seager. 1 step and a dive to his left. Seager threw him out. So Jurickson now 8 for 14 in first at-bats of a ball game. He has led off 14 ball games and had a hit in 8 of them in the first inning. One ball and 1 strike. Now 2-1. Profar, the switch hitter. Good rip of that Paxton heater. 2 balls, 2 strikes. The Rangers trying to make James Paxton work a little bit. He's been pretty efficient tonight. 42 pitches here with 2 outs in the third inning. Profar spoiling a pitch down and away. Back into the seat. Still 2-2. For Jurickson, tonight is the 20th game in which he has batted leadoff. He has hit safely in each of the first 19 games, which is a continuing record. He has gone on strikes here as Paxton gets his 3rd of the night. Rangers gone in order after 2.5. We are still scoreless in Seattle on Fox Sports Southwest. on your calendars. That's a Wednesday night. It's also the next Texas Chili Company Dollar Hot Dog Night out at Globe Life Park. Cincinnati in town to take on the Rangers. And come on out to the ballpark early and enjoy all the dollar hot dogs you can eat for just $1 each. Get your tickets at TexasRangers.com or call 972-RANGERS. Well, Colby Lewis to the hill now, starting the bottom of the third. Leonis Martin, Steve Clevenger, and Ketel Marte for Seattle. 1 ball and 1 strike to Martin. Leonis back in the lineup last night after spending his time on the 15-day disabled list. Had a bad hamstring. Chops that down in the dirt, foul. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Martin 3 out of 5 against Colby Lewis in his career, and he's hit .273 against his club overall.
Colby doing a nice job hitting his spots. Bobby Wilson put his glove on the inside corner. Colby fired it right on the inside corner, jammed Martin for a nice easy ground ball to second base.
Colby tonight has had 4 groundouts, one of them into a double play, and that's something we don't normally associate with Colby Lewis. More of a fly ball pitcher than a ground ball pitcher. But tonight, as you mentioned, Tom, hitting the spots, and when Colby is able to do that, he will get a lot of fairly routine outs. Steve Clevenger, .222 hitter. Clevenger giving Chris Iannetta the night off. A couple of veteran catchers handling the chores for the Mariners. 2-0. Clevenger brings in a 4-game hitting streak with him to play here this evening. Here's that 4-game hitting streak at a .385 clip. 2-2. Just missed the inside. No, 3-ball count to Clevenger. Clevenger hitting 8th in the order. Ketel Marte, the shortstop, will follow. Payoff pitch from Colby. Back into the seats down the left side. Well, talking about Colby Lewis, he is the subject of tonight's Kubota Power Stats. Since coming back from Japan prior to the 2010 season, 784 strikeouts. That's the most by any Ranger in that time span. Colby, of course, this is his 2nd tour of duty. Came up originally with the Rangers. He was a hard-throwing right-hander at that time, and went through all kinds of arm miseries. Got physically back in order, and then went to Japan and really turned his career around. Backing out of play. Colby said what he learned over in Japan, no secret, just learned how to pitch and how to use what he had to the most benefit. And well, you can see it too. Colby, although even coming back, didn't throw nearly as hard. Fastball 91, 92 at the most. He could really pitch, and he's carried that through. Clevenger pops one up. Bobby Wilson going in with a slide, can't quite get there. That ball just not hit high enough in the air for Bobby Wilson to have a real good crack at it.
4 straight foul balls for Clevenger. This one was about a foot inside when he swung at it. Would have been ball 4. Almost turned into an out by Bobby.
Well, still 3-2. Colby with his 35th pitch of the night. And it's another foul ball. For Clevenger, it hasn't been a case on most of these foul balls of spoiling good pitches. They've been pitches he would like to Like to have back that number 10 right there in the heart of the strike zone.
This is one of those at bats, no matter what happens, you hear a lot of people say, boy, that was a great at bat. Yeah, what was so great about it? The fact that he fouled off some great pitches to hit.
This one hit deep to left center field, up the alley. Oh, his back is off the wall, backed up by Desmond. Clevenger sliding in with an opposite alley double.
Well, after 10 pitches, it wasn't that great, but the 11th pitch, he turned it into a good at bat. Jacoby was not going to walk him in that situation. He threw him a pitch out over the plate. Clevenger drove it nicely into the gap in right center field, left center field.
Rua almost got there. Ball just a couple of feet out of his reach. Did a good job by Desmond to back that play up and make it a fairly close play at second.
You have to have played that ball nicely to get it into second base and make the guy slide on that ball.
Well, the first hit of the night for the Seattle Mariners. Clevenger now at second base, one away. Ketel Marte, the shortstop. Nothing in one. Marte, a switch hitter. 282 average overall with a home run and 14 driven in. He's had some luck against Colby. As you can see, he's 3 for 7 in previous matchups. Quite a bunt, and it's right at Mitch Moreland, who makes the tag on Marte sliding by. On to third goes Clevenger, but he's there with 2 outs now. And Aoki coming up. Nice play by Mitch to react to that bunt attempt by Marte.
They got a man on second base with 1 out. I think most of the time the manager would say swing the bat and try to drive in a run. Last 37 games, Marte's hit 303. It's not like he's trying to move a guy over to third base for Cano, Cruz, or Seager.
Yeah, it'd be one thing if there was nobody out.
Nobody out, maybe. Yeah.
No, with 2 outs, here's Aoki, who was hit by an 0-2 pitch his first time. Up the middle, and backhanded by Odor, thrown across his body, and that'll do it. Well, Colby works around the Clevenger double. Leaves Clevenger stranded at third after 3 complete. Rangers nothing, Mariners nothing on Fox Sports Southwest. The greater coverage of baseball, sponsored by T-Mobile tonight. We're talking about the draft and Major League draft class. Deep family roots. Craig Biggio's son, Gavin, was drafted by Toronto. Torrey Hunter Jr., drafted by the LA Angels. Of course, his dad, Torrey Sr., longtime Gold Glove outfielder. Trey Griffey, the son of Ken Griffey Jr., drafted by the Seattle Mariners. Same team that Jr. came up with. Kansas City Royals defeating the White Sox this afternoon 4-1. That snapped an 8-game losing streak, the longest for the Royals since way back in 2013. Ian Desmond starting things off for the Rangers here in the 4th inning. Scoreless ball game. Desmond sent Leonis Martin to the track in deepest right center field to haul in a long shot in the first.
On your way.
And 2-1 now. Desmond came in hitting at 308. It's now dropped down to 307. 2-2. You know, we talk about guys in the order, how much they're producing. You know, since Desmond has moved into the second spot full time, in 28 starts now with tonight, he's been a 368 hitter. Checks his swing there. The appeal to Jerry Davis, who said no swing. That'll fill the count. 27 games coming into tonight. Desmond has gone 43 for 117. Payoff pitch on the way.
So far, the pitch that Paxton has utilized the best has been his cut fastball, the 89 to 91 mile an hour sharp breaking ball. Rangers had some pretty good swings at his fastball.
And he misses low for ball 4. That's the first walk that Paxton has issued tonight. A leadoff pass here in the 4th. Going to bring up Nomar Mazara. Paxton, despite fairly low walk numbers, has thrown a lot of pitches in his previous 2 starts. His first start back.
I like his first start.
Yeah, his first start back from AAA. Threw 103 pitches in 3 2/3 innings and only had 1 walk. Gave up 10 hits, 8 runs, 3 of them earned. That was against San Diego. 1 ball and no strikes to Mazara. I don't know how you do that.
He could have had the same stuff that day that he has right now. I can't imagine how they could have had 10 hits in 3 2/3 against him.
Mazara, a strikeout victim the first time that he faced Paxton. In the second outing that Paxton had against Cleveland, much better, 6 innings of work. Still 107 pitches, a little bit higher than he'd like for it to be, but again, only 1 walk, but he struck out 10 in that game. Outside, 2 balls, no strikes, and again, Clevenger, who go out and chat with the 27-year-old. One thing that Scott Service has in Steve Clevenger and Chris Iannetta, a couple of veteran catchers that have been through the wars. They handle a pitching staff extremely well, and I know Scott Service, being a former catcher himself, really has to appreciate that of the 2 of them. Mike Zunino, the catching prodigy that the Mariners have had for the last several years, now being afforded the opportunity to go to AAA and really work on some things. And ball 3 is low, so Mazara, watching 3 of them outside the zone, has the advantage of the count. With Desmond at first and nobody out, Mazara trying to join him. Rougned Odor, Ranger cleanup hitter, waiting for his chance. And ball 4, a 4-pitch walk. Back-to-back passes. First and second for Odor. And now Mel Stottlemyre Jr. is going to head out and see if he can impart a few calming words to James Paxton.
Yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere. The first 3 innings, there were no walks. Pretty efficient pitch counts in each inning. And all of a sudden here in the 4th, 2 straight walks.
Paxton up to 55 pitches, as you can see. Almost looked like there was some kind of mental block that he had, either about getting into the 4th inning or a certain pitch total where you feel a certain way about it and having trouble getting by that unscathed. Whatever the reason, the Rangers will be happy to comply with his wishes and making sure that the hot water gets hotter.
Yeah, keep taking those walks. His first 2 starts, in addition to all those pitches, he gave up 3 home runs as well in 9 innings.
Well, the Mariners have the cornermen, as you can see, in at the cut of the grass, and they are guarding against the bunt. You don't see many cleanup hitters asked to bunt, but this isn't a normal situation for the Rangers. Odor not showing any inclination to bunt. Takes strike 1. Rugnet blistered a single into center field his first time up. Odor has not had a whole lot of success, relatively speaking, in these situations. Runners in scoring position. Hits this one hard, and it hits the runner Mazzara. He's going to be out. It'll be a base hit for Odor, but Mazzara is out, and the Rangers will end up with runners at first and third, or first and second.
Well, that's a bad break, because that could have been first and third with a run in.
Yep. Desmond will have to go back to second base.
Desmond was definitely going to score on that ball. It was pulled, so the right fielder, Smith, was going to have to go toward the line, and Mazzara might have gone to third base on it. That's a huge break for the Mariners. Yeah, that's first and third with a run in.
Yep. Yeah, you saw Seth Smith, the right fielder, playing well over into right center. So it is a base hit for Odor, but Rangers now first and second with 1 out for Ryan Rua. Rua grounded into a double play his first time. Looked like Mazzara thought he was going to be able to jump over that ball, but got him squarely on the left foot. Rua, 288 average. 2 balls, no strikes. Ground ball, Cano going to turn not quite into 2. As Marte had to lunge to his left to grab the backhanded throw by Cano, but the out is recorded at second. So there are 2 gone now with runners at the corners, and Prince Fielder coming up.
He's shading way over toward second. Almost got it far enough to go in for a base hit. And almost flipped it so that Marte couldn't keep his foot on the bag.
So 2 away now. Prince Fielder had a base hit to right his first time to the plate. Rangers trying to break this scoreless deadlock here in the 4th inning. Fielder, a 198 average as he faces Paxton. High octane fastball there. Nothing in 1.
You got to be featuring some pretty good fortune to walk the first 2 batters, give up a hard hit single, and end up with men on first and second and 1 out.
Steve Clevenger wants that cut fastball or slider. 0-2. Out at Safeco, trying to get behind James Paxton. Prince Fielder trying to quiet the crowd. Clevenger had no idea where it was, but he was able to recover it in time, and the out is recorded at first. That'll do it for the Rangers. No runs, a hit. They strand 2, and after 3.5 it remains Rangers nothing, Mariners nothing. and the Rangers need your help to make sure Texas is well represented in San Diego. You can send Ian and Adrian and Elvis and Rugdad and the rest of the Rangers to San Diego with your votes. Go to texasrangers.com/vote. Cast your vote up to 35 times, and fans who select the Rangers as their favorite team will receive an offer for 50% off tickets to select games in August. So vote today, vote tomorrow, vote often at texasrangers.com/vote. The Rangers let an opportunity against James Paxton slip by in that top of the fourth inning. Now Colby Lewis try and shut down the Mariners, prevent any carryover momentum from forming. Changeup floats in to Smith. 1 ball and 1 strike. Seth Smith, a fly ball to left field, his first time up there. Smith, Cano, and Cruz in the Mariner fourth. 2-1. Infield playing Smith a couple of steps around to the right, not a complete overshift. Outfield shading him slightly the other way. Pitch a little bit low. It's 3 balls and a strike. As we mentioned, Smith will be followed by Robinson Cano, the Mariners' second baseman. Colby back to the plate. Fills the count. Seth Smith has been on a pretty good rampage. He's hit better than 300 in the last couple of weeks. 304 to be exact coming in. Still 3-2. Colby, the 36-year-old veteran from Bakersfield, California. Talked about him pitching in this ballpark. He's had a couple of 10 strikeout games here at Safeco Field. It's out of play. Overall, Colby is 4-6 in this park with a 3.74 ERA. Towering fly ball to shallow right field. Odor camped out underneath it, calling everybody off, and this time Rugdad catching that right above his cap for out number 1. I think Rugdad might have heard a little bit from some of the veterans last night.
Yeah, if I were Rugi, I would watch Jose Altuve make that play, because that's exactly how Altuve does it every single time. Yep, just like that, Rugi. Get the glove up over your head.
We're talking, in case you missed it last night, Rugdad Odor kind of played one off to his left shoulder, one-handed, and it popped out of his glove. And I'm sure he heard about that when he got back to the bench, especially since it didn't cost anything.
Yeah, those look fine as long as you catch them. But when you don't catch them, they don't look so good.
Cano, a smash down to Mitch Moreland, who takes it to the bag for out number 2. We'll take you back and show you last night's misadventure.
It just is not easier to catch a ball that way than it is with your glove up over your head like that. Lesson well learned, Rugi.
Yeah. Rugdad with a little emphasis on that two-handed catch. So 2 outs. Here is Nelly Cruz. Breaking ball in the dirt to him for ball 1. Cruz grounded out to short back in the second inning. Nelson, 15 home runs, 43 driven in. Good slider from Colby Lewis. And that's the pitch that in years past, in this ballpark in particular, he has rung up more strikeouts than you can even dream about with that pitch.
Nelly swung at that pitch like it was an inside fastball.
That That one wasn't quite in the same spot. Well, he had a pretty good rip at it. 1-2. Cruz over the years, 5 out of 17 against Colby. Against the Rangers this year, though, now he's been kept at bay pretty well. Got him swinging. They got away with that pitch up, and Cruz is gone. A 1-2-3 inning for Colby Lewis and the Rangers. We have finished 4 in Seattle. No score. On Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. And by Mazda. In every car we make, you'll see why driving matters. A shot of Safeco Field and the environs. Home of the Seattle Seahawks adjoining. CenturyLink Field just across the parking lot. Elvis Andrus beginning things here for the Rangers in the top of the 5th inning. Scoreless ball game. Rangers with 3 hits tonight. Mariners with just 1. Elvis tapped one back to the mound. His first time to the plate. And finds himself now down in an 0-2 hole. Elvis has always enjoyed hitting against the Seattle ball club. The center field, Elvis Martin started in, now has to retreat a bit. That's out number 1. So Elvis makes the U-turn at first, heads back to the Ranger dugout, and it'll bring up Mitch Moreland. And speaking of Mitch, he is our TXU Energy power player to watch this evening. Last 20 games in this ballpark, Mitch has hit to a lofty .361 average with 5 home runs in those 20 games, 10 RBI. And he's hit safely in 18 of the 20 contests. 1 ball and no strikes. James Paxton worked over Mitch his first time up. Mitch caught looking at a very sharp breaking slider for strike 3. 2-0. Paxton still firing it in there in the upper 90s to around 100. Approaching that 70 pitch mark here in the 5th inning. Mitch had the head of the bat out there but fouled it off. Well, last night Mitch hit a couple of, but nothing nearly as hard as this rocket. It went off the facing of that second deck, went straight down out there. Never did get a a tape measurement on thing from StatCast. That
No, I can't imagine that thing go 100 feet over the wall to make it somewhere around 480, though.
I don't know how a human could possibly hit it any harder than that.
Now, if Mazara's ball went 490, that ball had to be close to it.
Well, 3-1 to Moreland. Base is empty, 1 away. The overshift by the Mariners. And Moreland into right center field. That is down, and Smith cuts it off. Otherwise, that's 2 bases. Seth Smith shading that way and able to cut that ball off before it got to the wall.
No, again, the Rangers are having good swings at his fastball. It doesn't matter if it's 97 or 98 miles an hour. There's another base hit on a 97-mile-an-hour fastball, down and away. Good swing by Mitch. See Martin shading over in left center field. He didn't have a chance.
Yeah, and that stat you were talking about earlier, Tom, the against left-handed hitters, Rangers have 4 hits tonight. All 4 of them have been by left-handers.
Yeah, I thought the new style of pitching might neutralize that a little bit.
Get down. Bobby Wilson dumps one into left center. That is down for a hit.
Well, that hung up for a long time, but it just didn't go far enough for them to catch it.
Well, there's the first hit of the night by a Ranger right-handed batter. Bobby Wilson dumps it into left center field. So first and second with 1 out and the top of the order coming up.
Yeah, that stat we were talking about, right-hand hitters in Paxton's career had hit 218 against him. Lefties had hit 315 against him, and that's kind of being shown again in this game. Lefties having more success than righties.
So Jurickson Profar still looking for his first hit tonight. He is 0 for 2 with a strikeout and a ground out. Chance here to get the Rangers on top. Moreland at second, Wilson at first. Paxton a check of the runners. Misses outside for ball 1. Took something off to Jurickson. Profar with 2 home runs and 4 driven in. One ball and 1 strike. Mentioned that Profar with hits in each of his 19 career leadoff assignments. And according to baseballreference.com, David Bell of Seattle had an equally long stretch leading off with 19 ball games hitting consecutively. That was back in 1989 or 1998 to 99. Profar, though, down on the count. 1 ball and 2 strikes here. Spoiling a tough pitch down and away, and almost picked off a couple of Mariners over there in the Mariner dugout. A conference on the mound. Clevenger went out there to have a chat with Paxton and Robbie Cano in to join the conversation. And let's check in with John Radigan, who has some breaking news for us.
Yeah, Buzz, we just get the news that Yu Darvish will not make his start on Monday. He had neck and shoulder tightness today when he tried to throw, so he's going to miss that start and go see Dr. Meister for an MRI on Sunday. He said, I heard it's not uncommon for players who have had Tommy John surgery to have issues like this. Right now, I don't want to push it and make it worse. It's a precaution. We hope nothing serious, and I can be back soon. So that's the news on Yu Darvish, guys.
All right, John, thank you. You know, if memory serves, Tom, wasn't it his first or second year that he had some neck stiffness in spring training and missed a little bit of time with that?
Yeah, I think he has before.
Seems like that neck has been an issue before, but hopefully it's nothing more than just a pushback. Towering pop foul. Seager at the railing. He runs out of room. That's John Radigan had a play on that. decided, though,
He was
to
eating chowder. He wasn't ready for it.
Reporting on Darvish news. I didn't have my glove. I would have had to hit it with the microphone.
He had that chowder plate.
Now we'll reset now. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Got him swinging. A good fastball from Paxton. So far gone. 2 away. Ian Desmond will come up. For Paxton, strikeout number 5. Desmond tonight is lined to pretty deep right center field for an out. Last time up, leading off the 4th, he drew a walk. He's got Moreland at second, Wilson at first. Takes strike 1. Rangers as a team have gotten in kind of a downturn as far as hitting with runners in scoring position. Last 4 ball games, they've just gone 4 for 33. Overall, they're still second in the American League, trailing Boston. 0-2. Second straight inning, the Rangers have had a couple of runners aboard against Paxton. He was up to the task in the 4th. He and Desmond trying to get at least one of the runners home here in the 5th. A 100 miles an hour for Paxton here in the 5th inning. Still nothing in 2. Desmond with 40 runs driven in this year. Time called. Saw the pitch tracker, all those pitches up to him, and Ian, it's kind of in his wheelhouse. Although not many of them getting up there at 100 miles an hour. But still, that's one of his favored locations. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Infield plays Ian a couple of steps around to the left. The outfield shading slightly the opposite way. Got him swinging. That hard cutter slash slider, and 6 strikeouts now, back-to-back punch-outs, ends the Ranger 5th. We played half the ball game tonight in Seattle. Rangers nothing, Mariners nothing. Fox Sports Southwest. It's Friday, June 24th. Boston Red Sox are in town to take on the Rangers. And the first 20,000 fans to Globe Life Park that night receive a pair of Major League glasses, courtesy of Papa John's. You can stick around after the ball game, too. The fireworks show will be themed to baseball movies. Get your tickets at TexasRangers.com. You can call 972 Rangers. It'll be a great night out at Globe Life Park. Kyle Seager leading off here for the Mariners in the bottom of the 5th inning. Scoreless ball game. Colby Lewis has been outstanding tonight. He has allowed just 1 hit through the first 4 frames. Into the glove of Mitch Moreland, who wins the race to the bag, out number 1. And before Adam Lynn comes up for his second at bat, let's throw it back to Aaron Hardigan for a Chevy game break. All right, Aaron, thank you. Arrieta, after losing for the first time in, what was it, 20 years? Last time out, he got back on the winning side of things.
Yeah, Steven Strasburg's the new Arrieta right now. He's 10-0.
Yeah. Adam Lynn, a strikeout victim, back in the 2nd inning. And Colby for the first time. That breaks the curveball out for strike 1.
Yeah, it seems like Colby's featured his fastball more tonight. He's had good success with it. He's thrown a couple of 90-mile-an-hour fastballs by hitters for strikeouts.
Lynn gives it a good ride to left field. Rua is back at the wall. That ball's gone. Adam Lynn with his 8th home run of the year. The Mariners lead it 1-0.
Tell what that pitch was. It looked like a high changeup. I don't think Colby hit the spot that he wanted. Let's take a look. Trying to throw it down and away. It's away, but not down. And Lynn shows the kind of power that he's got the opposite way.
The Mariner part of the bullpen out there. Now a bunt attempt is popped up foul, and back to make the catch is Bobby Wilson. So Leonis Martin trying to bunt his way aboard. Fouls out for out number 2. Good reaction by Bobby Wilson and Adam Lynn as we get one more look at that drive off the bat of Lynn. You know, Tom, we were talking in our pregame comments about how Safeco Field is not playing the way we've seen it in the past. It's much more hitter friendly or home run friendly. That's a pretty good indication right there. I don't think at night before, I don't remember balls going the other way off left-handed hitters' bats and carrying out of here.
Yeah, I don't know what could possibly be different right now. There's no wind at all. Drier air,
Good
denser air. Not sure exactly what it could be.
Maybe the balls are juiced.
Maybe. You know, some of the players are.
Now, Steve Clevenger has the only other hit tonight off Colby Lewis. It was an opposite field double. In the right center field playable is Omar Mazara. Ambles over to make the grab. That'll do it. But Adam Lynn breaks the scoreless deadlock. His 8th home run of the year will go to the 6th inning. 1-0 Seattle. For the Sonic Slam inning, brought to you by Sonic. Tonight's jackpot is worth $1,300 and dinner for two at Sonic Drive-In. If a Ranger hits a home run during this inning, Farrahan El Johnny from Haltom City wins $1,300. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam this frame, well, Farrahan's going to win $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. The Rangers find themselves trailing 1-0, and yes, it was a long ball that has made the difference in the ball game. Adam Lynn going the other way with a Colby Lewis offering. Nomar Mazara, Rougned Odor, and Ryan Rua, the first three to do the swinging against James Paxton. At the knees for strike one. Nomar has struck out and walked tonight. Rangers have 5 hits. They have all been singles. Mariners just 2 hits. They've both gone for extra bases, a double and a home run. 1-1 pitch. 2 balls and a strike. Mazara at .322 with the average currently. That 9-game hitting streak on the line here tonight. Make that a 10-game hitting streak. Mazara shooting it through the hole on the left side. Well, again, beating the shift put on by the Mariners. And Nomar ahead, or aboard, I should say, to start the 6th inning.
Yeah, just another example of shifting, at least shading toward right field against Nomar, and Nomar, guy's throwing 97 miles an hour, just takes advantage of that. It's multiple times this year he's had hits right straight at the shortstop when they're shading over there, at times where you wonder why they're doing it in the first place.
The 1 on, nobody out. Here's Odor, and Rougned takes strike 1. Odor 2 for 2, a pair of singles, 1 a blistered shot to center. And the one last time up, maybe the biggest hit, non-hit. He had a very sharp ground ball that hit Mazara, who was at first base at the time.
That's the story of the game so far for the Rangers, because Desmond was at second. He would have scored easily on that ball. Would have been at least first and second, nobody out, and a run in. Instead, it's first and second, 1 out, and no runs.
Yep. The Rangers would obviously not score in that inning, and that's the big reason why. 1-1 pitch. 2 balls and a strike. Well, Rougned taking a look down to Spike Owen, the third base coach. Going through a series of signs down there, relaying him to Nomar Mazara at first, and Rougned Odor at the plate. Paxton, a letter high set. Misses high and tight, 3-1. Spike Owen saying, hey, I'm getting a little lonely over here. Why don't you send some guys my way? Paxton a check of first. Double play grounder to Cano. Marte. 4-6-3, and that takes care of the leadoff single.
Good pitch by Paxton. He ran the fastball in, jammed Roogie, and turned into a pretty easy double play for Cano and Marte to turn. It's Paxton out of a jam.
Second double play of the night turned by the Mariners. No, base is empty now, and Ryan Rua 0 for 2 steps in. Rua grounded into the first double play turned by Seattle. That was back in the second. Off the fist, foul to the right. 1-1. Paxton with his 96th pitch of the night. Sharply hit and backhanded by Seager. And that'll do it. The Rangers hit the ball sharply in the inning, but 3 up. And thanks to the double play, 3 out. After 5.5, 1-0 Seattle on Fox Sports Southwest. Folks, it's time to get your Rangers rally towel. Come on out to the ballpark on Saturday, June 25th. The Red Sox will be in town. And you can get a Ranger rally towel, compliments of Total and Big Green Egg. Get your tickets at TexasRangers.com, or you can call 972 Rangers to get your tickets. Colby Lewis dealing a strike that evens things out now as Ketel Marte is starting the bottom of the 6th inning. Rangers on top 1-0. Marte tried to bunt his way aboard the first time up. Bunted it right to Mitch Moreland. Foul ball makes it 1-2. Colby spinning a dandy here tonight. The only blemish on his record, the Adam Lind opposite field home run last inning. To center field. Ian Desmond stopping shy of the warning track. 1 gone. Colby Lewis using the big part of the ballpark to take care of Marte. Now we go back to the top of the Seattle order. Nori Aoki will step in. Aoki hit by a pitch back in the 1st inning. He was erased on a double play. Grounded out to 2nd in the 3rd. No balls and a strike. That'll even things out. Colby Lewis, 66 pitches tonight, 47 strikes, 19 balls. Aoki trying to take that bunt with him and bunt it through it. 1-2. Bobby Wilson flashing the signs. Colby to the wine. Got him swinging.
Now that was a swing. Yeah, he was trying to swat a spider on the ground or something.
Looked like cricket attempt. Folks, a quick reminder, this Thursday, the greatest golfers in the world converge on historic Oakmont Country Club right outside Pittsburgh. It's the 116th U.S. Open Championship, and live coverage begins on FS1. and continues through the final round on Sunday, June 19th on Fox. Or you can watch the entire championship live on Fox Sports Go. Colby Lewis now with 3 strikeouts, 2 away. Seth Smith has flied out and popped out tonight. Way up in the air, and this is playable somewhere around home plate. Bobby Wilson makes the grab, and that is a very quick and tidy 1, 2, 3, 6th inning. We're going to the 7th here at Safeco Field with the Mariners leading the Rangers 1-0 on Fox Sports Southwest. Our 4-game summary tonight. Colby Lewis has been outstanding this evening. He's racked up 3 strikeouts, getting Lind and Cruz has a couple of them. Only a blemish, got Adam Lind going the other way. That pitch up and out over the plate, and Lind with his 8th home run of the year into the Mariner bullpen. Meanwhile, James Paxton has been tough on the Rangers. It has been very much a pitcher's duel here at Safeco Field. As Prince Fielder leads off the Rangers' 7th inning. It'll be Fielder, Andrus, and Moreland. Rangers have had Paxton on the ropes a couple of times in the 4th and in the 5th. Even had a leadoff hit in the 6th inning, but he's been able to wiggle off the hook. Fielder, a strikeout and a single tonight. Prince, 197 average. Back to the plate.
That took all of his strength to check that
Sure
swing.
did.
He was ready to let it fly and stopped at the last possible instant.
Two and two now. That was the 100th pitch of the night for James Paxton. Left-hander goes to the wind. Call strike 3.
Well, he's still getting it up there. Last pitch 99 miles an hour on his 101st pitch.
7 strikeouts for the left-hander. Tied a career high last time out with 10 punch-outs. And Scott Servais making a walk out to the mound. Well, that very definitely a strike. Princeville just couldn't pull the trigger. Well, that's going to do it. Scott Servais making the motion to the bullpen. He wants the right-hander to come on in, and James Paxton gets a well-deserved pat on the back from Servais and a standing ovation from the Mariner faithful on the first base side at Safeco Field. So pitching change underway. 1 out, nobody on here in the top of the 7th inning. We'll take a timeout. We're back to Safeco right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. upcoming schedule finishing up here tomorrow afternoon. Be a 3 o'clock start, Rangers and the Mariners, and it's down the coast to Oakland for 4 against the A's, Monday through Thursday. And the Rangers finish off this 10-game road trip with 3 against the Cards in St. Louis, 17th through Sunday the 19th at Father's Day afternoon in St. Louis. And we'll move to the bullpen. Edwin Diaz, the 22-year-old right-hander out of Puerto Rico. Hard-throwing young man. He is brought on here. And pumps in strike 1 to Elvis Andrus. Elvis tonight 0 for 2. A little more high octane. 97, and that was upstairs. Diaz last worked on Thursday night against the Cleveland Indians here. There's a breaking ball, and it's 1-2. Diaz gave up a run in his 1 inning of work against the Indians. Two balls, 2 strikes. Mariners, as you can understand why now watching this guy throw, they really like his power arm. Feel that even though he's 22, he pitches like a more seasoned veteran. Elvis got a hanger there and fouled it straight back. Another 2-2 pitch. Elvis able to check his swing, that hard slider, in the appeal. Jerry Davis said no swing, it's a full count. So Elvis trying to get aboard here with 1 out in the 7th. Mitch Moreland will follow. Payoff pitch. Got a pretty good chunk of Elvis's left leg. Diaz just called up this past week to the Mariners. Elvis settling back in. Diaz with another 3-2 pitch. High and tight, ball 4. And the tying run is aboard with 1 out for Mitch. You kind of got the feeling last night, in last night's ballgame, Rangers got down 5-1 and then inched back into the ballgame. Had the tying run at second base in the 8th inning and couldn't get it home. You kind of felt like the Rangers were never really out of that ballgame until the final out. Tonight, yeah, you don't know. I mean, it's been pretty good pitching against them so far. Moreland 1 out of 2 this evening, taking strike 1. The way Mitch is swinging the bat, this game is 1 swing away from being in the Rangers' favor. Elvis a pretty good lead at first. Got a quick look at the defensive alignment for the Seattle Ball Club. It's an overshift with Marte, the shortstop, playing side saddle right there to the right side of second base. Cano closer to first base than he is to second by quite some. 0-1 to Moreland. Cano to second. The return not in time. Marte had a tough time getting the ball out of his glove, and Mitch able to beat out the return throw. But the force at second removes Elvis. 2 gone, and Bobby Wilson coming up.
It wasn't a hard hit ball, but when you saw the ball hit, you made the assumption it was going to be a double play. Good slide by Elvis. Forced Marte to shuffle a little bit to his right, and in doing so couldn't get the throw off in time.
Now 2 away for Wilson. Bobby had a base hit his last time up. Bobby Wilson now 4 for his last 9 trips to the plate. 1-1. This latest streak came on the heels of that 0 for 14 drop that Bobby endured. This one popped up back behind home plate. Clevenger with the mask off makes the catch, and that'll do it. Well, the Rangers get a walk in the inning but leave a runner stranded. Stretch time at Safeco with the Mariners leading the Rangers 1-0 on Fox Sports Southwest.
Safeco Field in Seattle, and when you're on the road and you eat like I do, you have to do something to compensate for that eating. Typically what I do is run, and my favorite place to run when I'm on the road is Seattle, Washington. There are some great places to run here, including a place that's just north of downtown Seattle called Myrtle Edwards Park. You can walk, you can run, you can fish there, and the scenery, the setting is just absolutely perfect for anything, any of those activities that you want to do. It's a long run if you want it. I run for about 3 miles when I'm out there. You start your run, as you see the pitch from Colby Lewis, you start your run right along the water. That's called Elliott Bay. It leads into Puget Sound with lots of flora and fauna and water. And then on the way back, look at this. You see the flowers and the Space Needle. Just an absolute picture-perfect run as you see the looping single out into center field. And if I ran faster, I might not see all of those things. And if I ran farther, I might not feel so guilty about my lunch, which was that. That's the biggest pizza. It's hard to tell, but you can't even fit it in the screen, guys. That's the biggest pizza I've ever seen. Chris Fitzpatrick and I ate that thing today, and it was delicious. Fitz is a powerful pizza eater, and he could only eat 3 pizzas. I went through about a piece and a half, and I haven't had a bite of food since. I still might go back to the park and run again tonight, though, guys. I think I need to.
Well, that looked awfully good.
It was sure good. Did.
That pizza looked great.
It was good.
Goodness gracious. Wow, look at that thing. That thing's calling us, Tom.
Yeah, it sure is. That looks good.
Now, Cano with a leadoff single. He is aboard, and A double play grounder up the middle from Cruz. Odor tagged the bag with the ball and then tried to make an off-bounds throw. He was stumbling and almost turned that into a circus double play. Cruz able to leg out the return to first.
I think Elvis is saying that he was in position to get the flip. I don't know if Rugi saw him or not. That's about as much effort as you can make to turn a double play right there. Great try. Elvis was kind of laying off to the other side of the bag, waiting to come across the bag on a flip. I'm not sure Rugi was able to see him, though. He was just concentrating on getting to the bag himself.
Yeah, maintaining his balance the best he could.
Watch Elvis come over in front of the bag. I think Rugi probably, when he caught the ball, thought it was going to be a little bit easier to tag the bag and throw it than it turned out to be.
So 1 out. Kyle Seager now. It's pitched just a little bit high for ball 1. Seager's grounded out twice tonight, both on the right side, once to second, once to first. Nelson Cruz, the runner at first. Two balls, no strikes. Give you a chance here to take a look at our Ford leaderboard tonight. All-time batting average leaders against the Rangers. There's Seager down there in 4th place. Bernard Span, Mike Trout, Miguel Cabrera. No surprise about Cabrera. If you talk about a Texas wrecking crew, it would be Cabrera. A 390 career average. Seager is in that kind of company. There's been a terror against the Rangers over the years. A 2-ball, 1-strike count. Into foul territory. Long run for Profar. And he almost got the catch.
What a try. Swiped at it right at the end, went right in his glove and out again. That would have been a beauty.
Well, that's one that Profar, considering he doesn't play third base very often, has not had a lot of practice at. That's a tough play. We've seen Beltre make a play like that with his back to home plate before, but that ball, not only is it way up there a long run, but it's slicing back toward the field. You have to factor all those things in it when you're going as hard as you can for about 40 yards out there. Now 2-2 to Seager. Moreland, can he start a double play here? The return back to Colby, covering, not in time. Off the bag. Great effort, though. Elvis made as good a throw as you possibly could, and Colby got to the bag, did exactly what he's supposed to do. Tried to set up like a first baseman, and just couldn't quite get there quickly enough to set his feet properly.
Let's take a look. So Colby getting over there. Let's see if he touched it before he touch it right there. Did he kind of kick it?
Couldn't tell from that angle.
No, he couldn't tell.
Steve Buechele's going to find out from Bobby Jones and Adam Brenner upstairs. Apparently not. Be no challenge. Well, the force play goes 3-6 at second base. 2 outs now, and Adam Lynn coming up. That's my way of thinking. It's still the toughest double play to turn.
Yeah, it is. Hard for the pitcher to get over there. He's not used to being a first baseman. It's hard for the middle infielder to kind of hit him on the run if he's not quite there to the base.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard play.
2 outs. The difference in the ball game standing at home plate. Adam Lynn, a home run to left center field his last time up. Fouls back that first pitch, 0-1. Colby tonight just 3 hits, a single, a double, and the home run. 79 pitches total so far. The 18 in the 3rd inning, by far the most of any frame for him tonight. That is some kind of economical pitching.
Yeah, there hadn't been a lot of hard hit balls. Obviously, the home run was hit pretty hard. Been a few others along the way. For the most part, Kobe has carved through the lineup in a masterful fashion.
Yep. You have to break out that surgeon moniker for him again. Back to cutting him up. Nice stop by Bobby Wilson. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Our AT&T high-speed internet replay will show you the only run of the game. Adam Lynn back in the 5th inning into the Mariner bullpen for his 8th home run of the year. Is the difference in the contest tonight. The Mariner first baseman in the first two games of the series have just been on fire against the Rangers. Dae-Ho Lee with a 2-home run game last night. This one popped up. Shallow left field. Elvis calling everybody off. That'll do it. With the leadoff single by Cano. No damage. Runner stranded for the Mariners. We'll go on to the 8th inning. Rangers coming to bat, trailing 1-0 on Fox Sports Southwest. Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, delivers everything you've come to expect and a lot more. You can watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. It includes a free subscription to @Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Just visit MLB.tv for details. A beautiful evening here at Safeco Field in Seattle. We head to the 8th inning, and Joaquin Benoit, former Ranger, on for the 13th time this year. Benoit 1-1 with a 4.63, and hard to reconcile that 4.63 ERA with a 1.82 opponent's batting average. Giving up 3 home runs, which tells you part of the story right there, and Benoit 11 2/3 innings this year. Joaquin signed just over 20 years ago. 20 years ago last month with the Rangers. Signed as a young man and out of the Dominican Republic, non-drafted free agent back on May 20th of 1996. Facing the top of the order, Jurickson Profar takes strike 1. Profar, a couple of strikeouts and a ground out tonight. All 3 of those at bats against James Paxton, the starter. Oh-1 from Benoit. 1 ball and 1 strike. Benoit really not much of a resume against any of the active Ranger players tonight. Foul straight back. Profar has not had an at bat against Benoit in regular season play. Adrian Beltre and Shin-Soo Choo, the only ones in double digits against Benoit. Neither one. Choo is not active. He's on the disabled list, and Beltre on the bench. He's still nursing that strained hamstring. The 1-2 to Profar. Hit well to center field, but right at Leonis Martin for out number 1. And Ian Desmond coming to the plate, but first we're going to send it back to Aaron Hardigan for a Chevy game break. All right, Aaron, thank you. Ian Desmond stepping in. He is 0 for 2 with a walk tonight. 0-1. Benoit. That cutter / slider that he throws also has a very good split finger pitch that he uses for a changeup. Desmond 0 for 4 against Benoit. Now down in the count, no balls, 2 strikes. Rangers had all 6 hits tonight off James Paxton. He spread them out pretty well over 6 innings. Ball strike 3. There's the big curveball. And Desmond locked up at home plate for out number 2.
He threw jerks at all fastballs, and then he threw Ian all breaking balls. He dropped in and just barely touched the inside corner.
Oh, Nomar Mazara, 1 for 2 tonight. Facing Benoit with the bases empty. Takes the first pitch. Down out of the strike zone. The Mariners now have utilizing a little bit different look defensively against Mazara. Shortstop Marte trying to cut that normal shortstop hole in half. And Seager and Marte kind of bunching toward each other, and Robinson Cano way over in the hole at second base. So that gives you a giant opening in the middle of the diamond.
They threw all fastballs to Profar, all breaking balls to Desmond, and 2 changeups to Nomar. Spreading it around a little bit.
1-1 pitch.
3 straight changeups.
Clevenger flashing that sign. He wants that fastball down and away. Mazara way up in the air. Marte and Seager, and it's Ketel Marte going into a slide and makes a fine running catch. That'll do it. Benoit works a 1-2-3/8. Rangers gone in order after 7.5. Still 1-0 Seattle.
on the hill as we get ready for this bottom of the 8th inning here at Safeco Field in this pitcher's duel. And we remind you that there is another game tomorrow in this series between the Rangers and the Mariners, and that game will feature Cole Hamels on the mound. AT&T high-speed internet reminds you that it's Hamels and the rest of the Rangers against the Mariners tomorrow. We've got that one for you beginning at 3 o'clock. Rangers live at 2:30. We'll see you guys then.
All right, John, thank you. Leonis Martin leading off here in the bottom of the 8th, and towering pop-up. And again, Odor.
That's just how Altuve fields him right there.
Centering himself underneath it, and 2 hands for the catch. 1 gone.
He watched the replay.
Oh, what a way. Here's Steve Clevenger, the catcher. He has one of the 3 Mariner hits tonight off of Colby Lewis. Take strike 1. Clevenger had an 11-pitch at bat in the 3rd inning. Resulted in him driving one to the left center field alley for a double. In going that way, but Ian Desmond and Ryan Rua, and it's Rua in front of Desmond to make the grab for out number 2. Colby Lewis just 86 pitches as he works here with 2 outs in the 8th inning. 23 outs he's recorded on 86 pitches.
Well, he came into the game with 5 starts on the road and a 1.41 ERA. His ERA is probably gone down a tick. Did give up a run, though. He came in with 14 consecutive, got up to 18 consecutive scoreless innings, 18 1/3, until the home run by Lind.
Got Marte on the fist, and a little ground ball to Odor, and that is a very quick and tidy 1-2-3-8. Colby Lewis going back to the bench, see if he can get some runs. Rangers trailing 1-0. Run 7-5 ball game to tonight's 1 home run, 1-0 ball game. Very much a pitcher's duel tonight. Colby Lewis with 8 innings under his belt, and he is on the short end of a 1-0 score. Steve Cishek, the closer for the Mariners, coming out of the bullpen. We saw him last night. His 26th appearance. He is 2-3. He's 14 for 17 in save opportunities. Got the save in last night's ball game at ERA of 260. League hitting just 178 against the tall, lean right-hander. Cishek, 29, soon to be 30 years of age. Later on this month. Originally property of the then Florida Marlins, the Marlins organization. Pitched briefly with St. Louis last year. Then the Mariners signed him as a free agent in the offseason. So Cishek on here to face Odor, Rua, and Fielder in this 1-0 ball game. Odor 2 for 3 tonight. Looked at a pair of singles his first 2 times up, then grounded into a double play in the 6th inning. One ball and 1 strike. And Cishek, as you can see, from an odd angle, he gets pretty good velocity in the low 90s, 90, 91, 92 miles an hour. One and 2 to Odor. Crowd of 36,055 on hand tonight. Just about 1,000 fewer than last night. Cishek reading the signs. The right-hander is ready. And swinging. 1 gone. Odor retired. Jared Hoying now has grabbed the bat. He's going to come and pinch hit for Ryan Rua.
Elevated that fastball to Rugi. Got it a little bit out of the strike zone, but got him to offer at it anyway. Yeah, Ryan had, I believe, an at-bat against Cishek last night. Had a slider that he skied to right field. Just got underneath it a little bit. Rangers had a number of those balls in last night's game that they just missed.
And Hoying, first ball swinging. It's to center field. Right there is Luis Martin. 2 gone. Prince Fielder coming up. The fielder faced Cishek last night, leading off the 9th inning and grounded out. Now Prince trying to maybe tie this ball game with 1 swing of the bat, and also trying to keep this inning alive. 1 for 3 is Fielder tonight. Two balls, no strikes. Check swing, it's outside, 3-0. Ranger fans maintaining hope. They would love to see this ball game tied up, or the Rangers go ahead here in the 9th inning. 3-0 to Fielder. Prince with a green light, trying to tie this thing up with 1 swing.
Got to go for it right there. 1 swing, tie it up, rather than try to get a rally. 2-out rally, get 3 hits to score runs, a little bit difficult. 3-0 pitch, you're going to get a fastball. That's the one to take a rip at.
Breaking ball, 3-2. Steve Cishek sets. Payoff pitch to Fielder. Drive to right field. Way back. Prince has tied it up. Goodbye. Wow.
That's the best. That's the longest ball Prince has hit this year. Cishek dropped the breaking ball in for strike 2 on a 3-1 pitch, and then came in with a fastball. Prince ripped at 3-0, fouled it back, and then 3-2 got pretty much the same pitch and launched it 400 feet to right field. A big guy got a hold of that one, boy.
Prince Fielder with his 5th home run of the year, and that is the 10th blown save of the year for the Seattle bullpen. Cishek knew exactly where that was headed. It was on its way to Snoqualmie Falls.
Yeah, he did. He's only watching to see where it landed. That ball was gone the minute Prince hit it. Threw him a fastball right down the middle, and Prince launched it. Boy, I tell you, watching those forearm blasts that they give in the dugout. I saw Rugi give one to Prince. That was a mismatch, boy.
Somebody's going to break something.
Yeah, Rugi's going to have a swollen forearm after that one.
Breaking ball to the inside corner. One more look at it.
Well, that's nice to see.
1-2 to Elvis. He's staying alive. A Prince fielder down to his last strike. Rangers down to their last out. And Prince, with a big swing of the bat, ties this thing at 1. Two balls, 2 strikes. Cishek will not get his 15th save. It's his 4th blown save opportunity. Like Elvis was trying to yank one out of the ballpark. There's that stat we were talking about. 10 blown saves this year, and that'll put a lot of gray hairs on Scott Service's head. Again, the 2-2. Line drive to right at Seth Smith, and that'll do it. But Prince fielder with his 5th home run of the year, a blast into the night to right. Rangers tie it up. They get a run on 1 hit. This big swing of the bat by Prince. We are going to the bottom of the 9th inning in Seattle. It's the Rangers 1 and the Mariners 1 on Fox Sports Southwest. The moment, the man of the night, tying the ball game up with 2 outs in the top of the 9th inning. Here at Safeco Field, his 5th home run of the year. And that will make a no decision for Colby Lewis, and that's kind of a partial waste of a great outing.
It's a shame to get a no decision with 8 innings of 1-run baseball, but it's better than getting a loss.
Turning it over to Jake Diekman now. And Diekman going to work here in the bottom of the 9th inning to send this to extra innings. Facing the top of the order, Nori Aoki, Seth Smith, and Robinson Cano. Chopper Profar up the ladder. Nice play by Jurickson Profar, playing up at the cut of the grass because Aoki runs well. That made that a tough play, and he made it very nicely. 1 out. And Scott Service now going to his bench. It's 4 right-handed hitters available to him. He's going to use Franklin Gutierrez as a pinch hitter for Seth Smith. You get another look at that play by Profar. Now Gutierrez takes strike 1. Jared Hoying, who pinch hit for Ryan Rua, stays in the ball game. He is out in left field now. Smash knocked down by Profar, and the throw is wide. Gutierrez will leg it out. Elvis Andrews calling time. He's going to give Profar a chance to catch his breath. Ball knocked the wind out of him.
Hard hit smash. He had a chance to get him with an accurate throw, obviously. Was unable to do it. Fortunately, Mitch was able to stop that ball from going down the right field line.
Yeah. Doug Brocail going out to talk to Jake Diekman. Sean O'Malley has come in as the pinch runner that you saw at first base. So O'Malley taking over for Gutierrez. That play was ruled an error on Profar, by the way. So O'Malley with very good speed over at first. Robinson Cano singled his last time up. He was 1 for 3. That snapped an 0 for 16 that Cano was in. Takes ball 1 down and away. Cano 1 for 9 in his career against Jake Diekman. That one left the ballpark. One and 1 the count. Cano with the average at 295 as he stands at the plate. O'Malley inching off the bag. Rangers a couple of steps around to the right. Could be 2. Odor back to first in the dirt, picked out by Moreland. And the Rangers turn their second double play of the night. And we are going to have some bonus baseball. We're going to the 10th inning. Deadlocked at 1. Are presented by Jack League's Beef Jerky. All season long, Jack League's Beef Jerky. Feed your wild side. Well, it sure didn't look like until the last moment that this would get into extra innings. That man, Prince Fielder, got to a 3-2 count with 2 outs and launched his 5th home run of the year deep into right field seats. That tied the ball game, and then a double play off the bat of Robinson Cano got the Mariners out in the bottom of the 9th. We are going to go to the 10th, and Mike Montgomery appearing for the 23rd time this year. Montgomery 2-0 with a 2.12 ERA, and the opponents getting just 200 against him. Montgomery, a starter for the most part, now working out of the bullpen for the Mariners. Mitch Moreland starting things off here in the 10th inning. Takes ball 1 outside. Sean O'Malley is, I'm sorry, Tom.
Go ahead.
Sean O'Malley's in right field.
I was just going to say, Montgomery has pitched 34 innings, hasn't given up a home run. Keeping the ball in the ballpark.
Falling behind Moreland, 2-0. Outside and low, 3 balls and no strikes. Well, Moreland trying to get aboard to start this 10th inning. Bobby Wilson, the catcher, is waiting in that on-deck circle. And Mitch takes ball 4. Well, Montgomery issues a 4-pitch walk to start the 10th. Mitch down to first, and Scott Service. What in the world's going on with my bullpen here? I thought I had it lined up just the way I wanted to, and it hasn't worked out too well.
Well, they were looking pretty good. Diaz came in, did a nice job. Benoit, 3 up, 3 down. Cishek was looking good. Got a strikeout and a 1-pitch out. 3-2 pitch. That one didn't go too good, though. It's going pretty good up until that point in time. He grooved the fastball to Prince Fielder, and that was all she wrote.
Yep. Now Moreland, the runner at first. Bobby Wilson, 1 for 3 tonight. He's going to bunt. And it is a good one. It stays on the grass. The throw just does get Bobby Wilson at first.
Kidding me. Well, he's lucky. He's lucky that Bobby was running. I don't know that we've had a better bunter than Bobby Wilson over the last few years.
Yeah,
that guy can bunt. Every time he bunts, it's perfect.
I don't know how he kept that thing fair.
Montgomery just kind of rolled it to first base. And Lind was able to catch it for the out. Well, he can sacrifice bunt with the best of them. It's lucky that ball went as accurately as it did.
Clevenger and Montgomery talking out there. Bobby Wilson lamenting the fact that he almost beat that out.
Well, anyone that wants to know how to sacrifice bunt, you want a training film, just go take some video of Bobby Wilson sacrifice bunting, and that should do the job for you.
Well, the Rangers with a go-ahead run out at second base now. 1 out at the top of the order, Jurickson and Profar. Montgomery drops in that breaking ball for strike 1. Profar 0 for 4. In regulation play tonight, he had lined out, struck out twice, and grounded out. He's got an opportunity here in extra innings to extend that hitting streak. Broken bat out to Cano. On to third goes Moreland, but he's there with 2 outs now, and Ian Desmond coming up. Sam Dyson, Ranger closer, getting loose in that Ranger pen. And they're not going to mess around with Ian Desmond here. With Moreland at third, they're going to intentionally walk Ian Desmond. Scott Service knowing very well what Desmond is capable of, especially against left-handed pitching in this situation. He's not going to take a chance. He's going to put runners at the corners and leave it up to Nomar Mazara. And the fourth wide one from Montgomery. Desmond takes the intentional pass. Runners at first and third. Mazara coming up 1 for 3 this evening. Stoudemire Jr. going out to make sure that Mike Montgomery and company know what the scouting reports have said about Nomar Mazara. And they would probably say something like, he will hit the ball to all parts of the ballpark, depending on what you throw him. And where we have him defensed, you would know one certain way to get him out. Nick Vincent ready if needed in that Mariner bullpen. Nomar with a single in 3 official trips. He's also drawn a walk tonight. Go ahead run at third. That's Mitch Moreland, who led the inning off with a walk. Over at first after the intentional walk, Ian Desmond. Ball 1 is outside. But defensively, Mariners playing in a very similar fashion on the infield to what they did last time. Pretty much straight away, with maybe Cano shading a couple of steps toward the hole. Ball 2 is inside. Saw Seager at third, about 20 feet off the line, even with the bag. Good look from our overhead. Up the middle, cut off by Marte. The throw to first, and they get it. Well, the defensive alignment paid off that time, and Mazara a hard hit, third out. 2 left for the Rangers. Will go to the bottom of the 10th inning, deadlock at 1. Inning, Jake Diekman back out to the mound, and Diekman, he will face the middle of the order for Seattle. Cruz, Seager, and then Lind, at least Lind's spot. Diekman had a couple of ground balls, one resulting in a double play in the 9th inning. Here comes Nelly Cruz. Cruz 0 for 3 tonight. Extra innings, by the way. The Rangers 1-5 this year. Meanwhile, Seattle is 5-1. Rangers 0-4 on the road. Cruz, a drive to right center field. That is down for a base hit. Desmond cuts it off, so it'll be just a single to lead off the bottom of the 10th inning for Cruz. First hit against Jake Diekman tonight. That single puts the winning run at first base and nobody out here in the 10th inning with Kyle Seager stepping in. Seager 0 for 5 in matchups with Jake Diekman. Ball one. Seager 3 ground out tonight. Left center field, moving over Ian Desmond. One gone. Cruz back to first. Now Adam Lind going back to the dugout.
Probably going to bang up the big guy.
Yep. Dae-Ho Lee.
He's probably not going to face Jake Diekman either. Fans are high-fiving each other for Dae-Ho Lee.
Jeff Bannister with Matt Bush out in the bullpen. Jeff walking out slowly to the mound. He said, I want the right-hander to come on in here. So Matt Bush will be summoned to face Dae-Ho Lee here in the bottom of the 10th inning. A 1-1 ball game. The winning run is at first. And Matt Bush coming into a tight spot. So we'll take a timeout. We're back to Safeco right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. Bush brought into the ball game now here in the 10th inning. He will face Dae-Ho Lee. For Matt Bush, his 14th appearance of the year. 1-0 the record, the 1.42 ERA. 15 strikeouts in 12 2/3 innings. In the league hitting .224 against the right-hander from San Diego. Now, Dae-Ho Lee, who had a 2-home run game last night. Off the bench here as a pinch hitter. That necessitated the move to the right-hander Bush. And the breaking ball in for strike one. At the hard curveball to Lee. Lee now 10 home runs and just over 100 at bats. 301 average, 24 RBI. Cruz the runner at first. Looper into right field. Mazzara coming on. He can't get there. It falls in front for a base hit. Cruz the second. The winning run out in the middle of the diamond.
started his swing, and he was going to try to pull the ball. And Matt threw him that hard slider, 89 miles an hour. He hit it right off the end of the bat. And Nomar couldn't quite get to it. Good pitch, down and away. Pretty good plate coverage by the big guy. Looped it in front of Mazzara.
So 2 on with 1 out. Leonis Martin, former Ranger, 0 for 3 tonight. Matt Bush, a check of second. 1 ball and no strikes. Martin 0 for 7 since coming back off the disabled list. He entered the ball game last night with a 9-game hitting streak. That has since been put to history. Left center field on the run. Ian Desmond, he tracks it down. Cruz back to second. Lee back to first. Great jump by Ian Desmond in center field to run it down.
Ian's getting better and better out there. You could just tell he loves playing center field. Loves taking advantage of his speed. He loves getting to the ball and throwing it as hard as he can. He loves fielding a ground ball and throwing it back in like a shortstop. And by the end of the year, he's going to be one of the best center fielders in the league, if not before then.
You know, it was interesting. Jeff Bannister talked about the conversation he had with Ian Desmond early in spring training, and Desmond telling Bannister that he wanted to become the next Gordon in the outfield.
Yeah, he's going to be better than that because he's going to be a center fielder.
That's right.
Alex Gordon's a Gold Glove left fielder, but he doesn't run like Ian does.
Well, here's Steve Clevenger, catcher 1 for 3 tonight with a double. First and second, 2 outs. Matt Bush trying to get us to the 11th inning. 2-0. Steve Clevenger, 1 walk-off hit that was 2 years ago. Got the winning run out at second base right there at the bottom of your screen, Nelly Cruz. 3 balls, no strikes.
Trying to keep the ball away from him, just a little bit outside.
Doug Roquel and Steve Buechele. There's the man that makes the difference out there. Nelly Cruz, who started the inning by singling to center field. 3-1. Fox tracker showing me that last pitch right on the outside corner. Three and 2.
Same pitch.
Yep. Spot that up at 98. That's a little something extra for you. So, with 2 outs now on a full count, both Cruz and Lee will be off and moving. Bush checks him. Runners go. Payoff pitch. Walked him. Just a hair low, and that loads the bases for Ketel Marte.
Tough pitch to take. Borderline.
Elvis in to give some encouragement to Matt Bush. And Bobby Wilson going to join him out on the mound. Marte tonight has grounded out twice and fly to center field. Switch hitting shortstop, 277, as you can see, the average for the year. Matt Bush getting himself together, climbing back up on top of the hill. Profar playing way off the line at third, trying to cut down that hole between he and Elvis Andrus. Strike one at the knees.
It's a little bit higher than the one that Clevenger took. Pretty good differentiation for Ryan Blackney on those two pitches.
Bush okays the sign. Strike two.
No doubt about that one. That's all the way in the strike zone.
Well, Matt Bush, the converted shortstop, originally signed with the Padres, the first overall pick back in 2004. And he has taken that arm to the mound and showing you why he made the conversion. The 0-2 pitch. Fly ball right field. Mazzara going back. On the warning track, he hauls it in, and we indeed are going to inning number 11. Ketel Marte flies out. The Mariners leave him loaded. And after 10, it's the Rangers 1 and the Mariners 1. Extra innings are presented by Jack Link's Beef Jerky all season long. Jack Link's Beef Jerky, feed your wild side. A shot of downtown Seattle, the waterfront, and ferries flying the sound. Quite a ball game here at Safeco Field tonight. Rangers tied it up with 2 outs in the top of the 9th inning. And Matt Bush came on in the 10th to wiggle out of a tight spot, leaving the bases loaded. Well, the Rangers come to bat here in the top of the 11th inning. Daeho Lee, who came on as a pinch hitter for Adam Lynn, stays in the game to take over at first base. Rougned Odor, Jared Hoying, and Prince Fielder here in the 11th. And Odor drives one to right field. That is deep, way back. Goodbye.
Yeah, that's up in Mitch Moreland territory right there. Oh, man.
Both Leonis Martin and Sean O'Malley just stood there and watched. They took one step, said that thing is out of here. And Rougned Odor, with his 10th home run of the year, gives the Rangers a 2-1 lead. How about that?
Boy, the 2 home runs, one by Prince, one by Rougned. There was no doubt about these things, as there was no doubt about the one Mitch hit last night. Fastball right down the middle of the plate, and there it goes.
That tells you all you need to know right there. Rougned.
That's not a bat flip, but that's showing you know it's gone right there.
That's a pretty emphatic, I got that one. Wow. Here's Jared Hoying for his second at bat. He came on as a pinch hitter back back in the ninth inning for Ryan Rua and flied out.
Well, home runs were the story last night. Home runs are the story tonight. Not as many of them, but that's all the scoring.
He pops it up. Coming over Clevenger and Seager, but they were not out of room.
Mentioned that Montgomery hadn't given up a home run in 35 innings, when now he has.
Yeah, and if you cut that up, it would work 3 or 4 home runs. Wow. Well, that thing was way out of here. Rougned Odor ties for the team lead with 10 home runs. Nomar Mazara and Adrian Beltre. Two and two. Shallow left. Marte going out, but left fielder Aoki making the call on the catch. That is out number 1. Odor with the long home run to right center, and that gives Sam Dyson a goal to shoot for. That being coming in and closing out in the bottom of the 11th. And the reason why the Rangers got this far in the first place. Man in your screen right there, Prince Fielder. Hit a 2-out home run in the 9th inning off of Steve Cishek. Going the other way, that is a fair ball.
Same guy hit both those balls. One went 420 feet, and the other was a ground ball to third.
And that's a 3-hit night for Prince Fielder.
That's sweet.
Okay, able to get over there and cut it off, and held Prince to a base hit, a single.
Well, we talked about Mitch last night, starting to come out of it. Hopefully Prince doing the same thing with 3 hits tonight. His first hit was a line drive, and he had the home run.
Yeah, Robinson Chirinos has come off the bench to a pinch run for Prince Fielder. Here's Elvis, and he takes low for ball 1. Elvis tonight 0 for 3 with a walk. Rangers now 2 runs on 9 hits this evening. Mariners 1 run on 5 hits. The Ranger bench, a few more smiles popping out, and rightfully so. They have had to fight back each of the last 2 nights. Never quite got over the hump last night as far as getting the ball game tied up. Tonight, however, Prince tied it up in the 9th, and Rougned Odor has put them on top here in the 11th. Two balls and a strike to Andrews. Montgomery's going to have to hurry. He throws it down the right field line. Chirinos keeps on going to third. He'll stop there. Elvis in at second. And the Rangers looking for more in the 11th inning. Montgomery fielded it in time, realized he had to hurry the throw, and he launched one. He needed a parachute on that one to pull it down.
The Rangers have a chance to score a run without hitting a home run right here. Yeah, this is one that Montgomery probably would have been better served holding on to it.
Yeah.
He was not going to get Elvis, but your competitive instincts take over, and you're not thinking, I don't have a perfect chance to get him. Your instincts say, I'm going after it the best I can to try to make the play.
So the conference on the mound concluded. Mitch Moreland at the plate. That last play is going to be a base hit for Elvis, his first of the night. And the throwing error by Montgomery, allowing Chirinos and Andrews the extra 90 feet. Well, here's Mitch, who is 1 for 3 this evening. Infield pull all the way in. 0-1. Moreland had a single back in the 5th inning. Last time up, drew a leadoff walk in the 10th. A good cut at that Montgomery fastball. It's 0-2. Mariner infield of Seager, Marte, Cano, and Lee. All as close as they can possibly be with a guy like Moreland at the plate. Got him swinging. Big sweeping breaking ball. Big strikeout for Montgomery. 2 gone. And Bobby Wilson coming up. And that's going to do it for Montgomery as Scott Service says, I want the right-hander to come in from the bullpen. So Montgomery finished after an inning and 2/3. He will leave with the runners at 2nd and 3rd. Another pitching change underway here at Safeco Field. Rangers on top, 2-1 in the 11th. We'll take a timeout. We're back right after this. Lead here in the 11th inning, looking for more, and Steve Johnson, the right-hander, has come out of the Mariner bullpen. This is his 14th appearance of the year. 2.93 ERA with a 1.79 opponent's batting average. Johnson was with the Rangers, you'll remember, in spring training. About midway through camp, the Rangers released him, and he signed with the Seattle Mariners. He is on here to face Bobby Wilson with runners at 2nd and 3rd. And 2 outs. A run across on Rougned Odor's home run. Rangers looking for some insurance. Bobby Wilson going after that first pitch. Pops it foul back into the seats. Odor led the inning off with his 10th home run of the year. Blasted deepest right center field. Then with 1 out, Prince Fielder had a single. Robinson Chirinos came on to pinch run for him. Chirinos now over at 3rd, and Elvis Andrus had an infield single. Throwing error gave them both an extra 90 feet. 0-1. Now 0-2. Bobby Wilson had a sacrifice bunt in the 10th inning. He is 1 for 3 tonight. Rangers 2 runs on 10 hits. 1 error for each ball club. The Mariners 1 run on 5 hits. Got him swinging. Matson comes on, gets a 3-pitch strikeout. Rangers are done, but they take the lead on Rougned Odor's 10th home run of the year, deep into the Safeco Field night. Rangers on top 2-1 as we go to the bottom of the 11th inning. Game over to Sam Dyson in the bottom of the 11th inning. Dyson appearing in his 32nd ball game of the year. He's 8 for 9 in save opportunities. And Dyson with 5 of those since becoming the full-time closer. He picked up save number 7 against the Seattle Mariners last Sunday back at Globe Life Park. And he will have to go through the top of the order. Rory Aoki will lead things off. Sean O'Malley and Robinson Cano. Aoki 0 for 3. And Sam Dyson misses with ball 1. Sam Dyson last worked on Tuesday night at home against the Houston Astros. Picked up his 8th save. And that hit him. Fastball down and in, and Aoki hit for the 2nd time tonight.
Both those pitches got away from Sam. One was way down and away, and that one he just yanked way inside.
Well, the Mariner training staff out there very quickly. Right below the knee, it looked like. Not much for Aoki to do. I mean, he could not evade that pitch no matter what he did.
Well, they've used all their extra men except Chris Iannetta, backup catcher.
You see the concern on Scott Servais' face. He might have just realized what you were talking about. So the only one I got left is Iannetta. Hope that Aoki can stay in the ball game. Going to make an attempt to at least walk down to first base. See if he can shake off some of that. That's got to be throbbing right about now. Well, Sam Dyson coming out of the bullpen throwing bullets, and he had a wayward bullet. Nailed Aoki. Trying to convince Nori that he ought to run a little bit down the line. He said, I don't want to run. It's going to hurt. The thing might stop hurting by the All-Star break. I'm not sure, but
it's going to hurt tomorrow.
Yeah. So the tying run is on with nobody out. Sean O'Malley stepping to the plate. O'Malley came on as a pinch runner back in the 9th inning. O'Malley is a switch hitter. Back from the left side against Dyson. O'Malley, a 179 hitter. As a left-handed batter, just a 160 mark. Profar down the line from third, expecting a possible bunt. And ball 1 is low and inside.
Well, Sam's got to zero in on the strike zone here.
Walks have not been a problem this year for Dyson in general. 7 walks and almost 30 innings of work. Bunt is down. Moreland going to second. It is in time. They get the sliding Aoki.
What a play. This one will probably be challenged.
Yep.
Because they've got nothing to lose. It was a great play by Mitch. That's a gutsy play, going for the lead runner.
The challenge, last got service immediately. There was no doubt they were going to challenge that. Here's what they'll be looking at back at the replay command center. Gary Davis, the crew chief, who was the umpire at first base tonight, is in contact with the command center back in New York.
That's not going to go the Rangers' way, I don't think.
And the review brought to you by Ford tonight. Tim Timmons, the umpire at second base who made the call, also has the headsets on, and very quick decision. We will see what the decision is. He is out at second base.
Whoa. That must be blind.
Call was confirmed, so apparently the views, and we don't get all the views since we're away from Globe Life Park. We don't have access to all the views, but apparently there were enough views that showed the ball beating Aoki to the bag.
You're right, Buzz. From the angle that we had, it looks like he was already to the bag.
Yeah.
But he wasn't to the bag.
Apparently not.
Yep. Now you see it. I thought he was safe easily, but the point where I was looking at him safe, he hadn't gotten to the bag yet. That's a nice play by Mitch.
A fielder's choice and a critical one. It goes 3-6 for the out at second base. O'Malley now at first. Here's Cano, and he takes strike one. Cano 1 for 4 tonight. Last time up, rounded into a double play. That was in the 9th inning. And get him to hit the same kind of ground ball here, we would have a Ranger victory. Got him on the fist. Desmond got a late start, still coming on. Slides, makes the catch.
Look at this.
Throw back to first. They almost got him.
That guy, he's playing like a maniac out there. He is running all over the field, diving, throwing. That's going to be fun watching him play center field the rest of the year. He's getting more confident. He's playing deep because he doesn't want a double hit over his head. He comes in and takes it right off the ground, comes up firing, can't wait to throw the ball.
Man.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody play more aggressively out there than he's playing center field.
He used to say the guy's playing like he's had his hair on fire, and that's exactly what it looks like. Well, 2 outs now. Here is Nelly Cruz. Mason missing badly inside for ball one. Cruz singled his last time up. He is 1 for 4. Got the tying run at first. 2 outs in the bottom of the 11th inning. 1-0 pitch. Slowly hit down to third. Profar will not throw it. He sticks it in his pocket. Probably a good choice as Cruz legs out an infield base hit. Down to second goes O'Malley. The tying run at second with 2 outs. And Kyle Seager coming up.
Oh, nothing you can do on that one. Jurickson playing way back, almost on the outfield grass, trying to take away a double. See where he's playing, way back. I want an extra base hit. Oh, now you got the Ranger nemesis for the final out. Kyle Seager. Rangers have handled him so far today. He's 0 for 4.
Seager 3 ground outs and a fly out tonight. Dyson ready to work. Outside for ball one. Seager at 280 average. O'Malley at second with the tying run. The winning run at first in the person of Nelly Cruz. Ground ball foul. 1 ball and 1 strike. Seager 0 for 1 with a strikeout against Sam Dyson. Prince Fielder, who tied this ball game with 2 outs in the 9th inning. Odor put the Rangers on top with a leadoff home run in the 11th. 2-1. Dyson trying to lock down his 9th save of the year and get the Rangers back to their high water mark of 14 games over 500. 2-1. Runners on the move. The pitch is skied to right field. Mazzara with room in front of the track, waiting for it to come down, and that is a winner. Kyle Seager flies out to right field. The Rangers in an improbable win, trailing 1-0, down to their last strike in the 9th inning. Prince Fielder drives the ball out of the ballpark against Steve Cishek. Odor leads off the 11th inning with his 10th home run of the year, and the Rangers leave with a 2-1 victory here tonight. My goodness, what a ball game.
Seager had a good swing at that last pitch, too. He just got underneath it a little bit. That was a nail biter.
So Sam Dyson with his 9th save of 2016. Didn't really take your breath away, made you hold your breath for a minute, but got the job done, and that's exactly what the Rangers were looking for.
As you can see, kind of golfed at it straight up in the air. Got it to the warning track, but that's kind of the ball. Rangers hit that ball last night about 5 times.
Well, the Rangers in 11 get their 2nd extra inning win of the year. Their first on the road. This is their 5th attempt on the road, and they move to 1-4. And more importantly, even this series at a game apiece. Let's head down and listen to John Radigan as he talks with Odor.
Yeah, Rugi, what a great game this really was, wasn't it? To win and come from behind fashion like that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't give up. We just keep working hard. We trying hard to win the game, and that's what we did.
Yeah, Prince Fielder was 1 strike away from you guys losing. How big was that home run?
Yeah, I mean, Prince, you know how he's playing. He got a lot of power, so he just work hard in that at bat, and he hit a homer, and then we win the game.
Yeah, you come up in the 11th inning. Were you looking for that pitch?
Yeah, I mean, I was looking for fastball. He threw me that fastball, and just put a good swing on it, and I hit a homer.
Yeah, this team really does always believe, don't you? It was only 1-0 anyway, but even, every night you believe you're going to come back and win.
Yeah, I mean, we believe ourselves, we play hard, we play together, and that's how we are. We play like a family, and that's how we are.
It's fun. We appreciate it, Rugi. Thanks very much, guys. Let's get it back up to you.
All right, John. Well, 2-1 the final. We will be back with more from Safeco Field right after this on Fox Sports Southwest.